Okay, so I've got the views here all drawn, or the drawings, I should say, all drawn in model space. Well, as far as I'm going to take them for the time being. And now I want to add some extra layouts with viewports at different scales, mainly so I can start showing you how to work with the annotation and other elements when you have different scales. So I'm going to copy a layout I already have. And you can see here I've finished that title block, and so I'm going to use this layout to pick that up just by right-clicking on the Layout tab, going to Move or Copy, tick Create a Copy. I've shown you this before, but it doesn't hurt. Again, choosing Move to End at the bottom there will obviously move it to the end of this list. And if you're wondering why I can see more tabs than you might be able to see with yours, it's just because I've turned off any of the options I don't need here, and that's a good thing to think about when you click on that little button with the lines. You can turn off a lot of those options. Graphics performance is another one you probably don't need on all the time. There are lots of things there you might not need. Snap, I never use snap. I use object snap, so I don't ever turn 2D object snap off. You need that. But snap mode is actually one of those less useful ones. So lots of options there you can turn off just to give you more room and get some extra tabs in there. But I still don't have enough room for all of them. And so if you click on the double arrows there, then you can see any that are hidden. And so just right click on the new one, and I'll call this A3 Details. Oops, so it's just freezing up a bit, and I've moved it. So you can drag them. Yeah. There we go. And just for the sake of it, I might create another one to show you something at a larger scale. So I'm going to just again move or copy and move to end, create a copy, and get a new sheet at the end, which I will call, so just drag this one across as well. So that one will be our site plan. That will end up being at the beginning of the set, but for now I'll just leave it at the end. So you probably won't need to have, well, you definitely won't need to have your site plan for the first assignment, but you'd want to start setting it up for the second assignment and for your design drawings as well. You'll definitely need it. Site, it should be normally one of the first drawings you do before you even do floor plans. You'll do your site drawing, and so typically in the design process, the site analysis drawing is the very first drawing you do. And you go down on site and you sketch, usually by hand. Sometimes over a site plan you might have drawn roughly with a computer. And then by hand sketch all the site features you can see, and the aspect, the prospect, and you can do a bit of site or sensory analysis as well. And so when you taught design these days, that's usually the very first thing in architecture anyway. That's the starting point. Interior is a little bit different, but should again always be something you do. And for council submissions, they actually require that as a drawing. Most councils anyway do still require that as one of the drawings you submit. So, and that's an easy one to show you. Before I do the details, I've got this sheet now, and so I'm just going to go into the viewport. Hopefully you're used to doing that. And if you don't know, I've used the shortcut double clicking inside the viewport instead of clicking on the model paper button. And I'm going to get my site there, which still isn't complete at all, but I've got the at least the street names on there, and it wouldn't take very long to just drawing some basic outlines. Just trying to find a layer there rather than drawing a new one. Here we go, just use the reference layer for now. So tracing off those satellite images, you can pretty quickly build up a site layout, and my shortcuts aren't working. Oh yeah, definitely. Exactly, and you should do it for every project. Even for interior design, it's important to think about the locality and the access to the site and the approach. All of those things are important even for interiors. Okay, so I've just drawn a few extra lines in there to make it look a bit more like a site plan, and I'll clear out the internal lines. So, just want to show you there, I've got the image layer turned off, but I don't want to have that. Actually, I'm going to turn that on at some stage again. So the larger image I have turned off at the moment as well, and so instead of using on-off, I'm going to use freezing current viewport for both of those. Actually, before I freeze the second one, I might just locate true north. So by drawing a line along the edge here, so remember the image came from Google Maps, and it is always pointing to true north. So a line along the side of the image should always be pointing to north. Along this edge here. So the top corner there, so from there pointing to the top corner is north. So I'll draw an arrow after I turn the image off and you'll see. Because we rotated it. Yeah, so I'll freeze that one, and then you'll see the oops, wrong one. Sorry, that one. And of course I've drawn the line on the layer I think that I've just, oh no, so I've just frozen this one. There we go. So there's my line. So that indicates the direction of north. And so maybe if I draw some extra lines just to make it look like an arrow, you'll see. So that's north. Yeah.
So it's basically from the bottom of the page to the top of the page.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I'll just tidy this up a bit more, and okay, so I'll definitely make this look more like a site plan later, but really wanted to show you mainly how to get to scale. So this here is the border of my image, so I'm going to put that on. Sorry, that's my original page border over here, so I can delete that now. So I've got the things I want to show in my site plan roughly, and so now I just want to set a scale. So here I don't have 1 to 200 in the list, so I'm going to go to custom, and then just add the name 1:200, change the drawing units down there to 200. Okay, and then maybe move it down in the list so it goes into the right place. And then I still have to go and choose it from that list, and now that's exactly 1 to 200. So notice that the text has gone. That's what should happen with annotative text. And exactly. Yeah. So I'm going to go back to the model tab, and exactly, yeah, 1 to 200. So, okay, so I'm going to turn these images off, or just that one to get it out of the way for the time being. And so there I've got these two text objects. So I've got a couple of options there. I can either set them for multiple scales, or I can set them not to be annotative. Yeah, exactly, yeah. So I can say, I don't want this text to scale. If it's a street label, maybe that'd work. And you could have it as a thing that's a fixed size. So in a 1 to 200 view, it's going to be smaller than in the 1 to 100. And then if you happen to see it in a detail, it's going to be huge. So it's like you're zooming in on it. It's just like a piece of furniture that gets bigger and smaller. So there you can see now the height is 500, and I could change it. So it's no longer in a print size. And if I go back to the site drawing, now you can see the text there. It's a bit hard to see, but it is there. So that's one way of getting it to show in all views. And for things like street labels, that might make sense. But you'll see then when doing particularly details or other drawings like that, you will probably still want to have annotative as the option for the text. So we can get the details from these sections. We maybe need to add in a little bit more drawing, but hopefully not too much. So back to my details sheet, and I can start with this section. Just double click to make it active, and then I'm going to zoom in from the area I want to show in my detail. So we need the junctions, so the corners, the floor and the wall junctions, and then the one up here. So I really got those three junctions. So I'll start maybe with the bottom, and then again like before, set the scale once I've got the view roughly centered. And so these can be 1 to 10. So I can pan now to get the area I want in the view. Still on 1 to 10 there. Go back to the page, and well, actually, because we're doing A3, I think we might need to do 1 to 20. I think it's just going to be too. Oh, did I copy? I meant to move that. Yeah, it's just going to be too big at 1 to 10. So that's okay. We can do 1 to 20. 1 to 20 is fine for details like this. And you need to determine the scale based on things like your page size and the room you have generally. So it's fine to use different scales. So 1 to 20, yep, that'll be okay. And we don't really need to see what's behind that, so that's probably a good view for the detail. And then back to the page. Now I can change this viewport size. I don't really need to pick up the windowsill, so that's probably pretty good. I might move that across a little bit. And then can copy that viewport. I'll turn ortho on so it's in exactly in a straight line. That's really important. Copy it twice. And so now I'm going to go into this viewport, and I'm going to use that special pan command, -pan, so that I can pan this straight line. So I'm just going to click a couple of points with ortho on, and then I'll press enter to repeat it, and just keep panning like that until I can see what I need. So there it is. And so I'll show you how to reference these afterwards. It'll take a little while to get the next one because I've got to go all the way to the top of the building. Okay, so that's the top actually. Oh, now I've given you an extra resource in the folder on the P drive. I still have to put it onto Moodle. So no, so at the moment it is the same, but we've got to add more to it. So you have, oh yeah, where'd I put it? Into here. An image I've given you, and I'll get some more to show you the construction for a flat roof. Okay, because this can be a bit difficult to work out on your own. The others you'll probably be able to work out most of it based on what you've already done, and I'll show you it as well though. But a flat roof, particularly an old one like you have here, is a bit unusual. They build them in a better way these days. They do the usually have the bituminous lining, and then they put these stoppers, or not stoppers, these what do we call them? Basically these risers that support the paving or whatever hard surface you have over the top, which is a little bit more durable than just lining the that bituminous felt, which is pretty fragile, and once that's been compromised, then the whole thing is going to leak and will deteriorate. So they were prone to leaking a lot, this sort of construction, and it has been improved with the newer construction methods. It's often got concrete as well rather than timber underneath, which also can help these days. But again, the one that you're working on is definitely timber, and would have well, I'm assuming they've got insulation. They might not even have very much insulation, and it could just be the bituminous lining essentially over some sort of basic packing. It could even just be timber over the ceiling joists, and then the felt straight on top. With a building of that age, you never know. So if you're going to put your own floor surface there, one solution would be to have those risers. If you haven't seen them, they're basically just plastic cylinders that are adjustable. Their height's adjustable, and so you just turn them to adjust the height, and they have a cross on the top that you can then use as the brackets for your pavers. So it's a really good system. You just have one at each corner of the pavers. I've forgotten what they're called, but they're easy to draw, because in section you just basically draw a couple of lines. Yeah, that's right. So it just looks like a rectangle in section, and that's the only place you need to show it. I'll look them up and see if I can find the name for you. But that's a really good system for improving a flat roof if it's going to have a floor, rather than putting a new slab over it. So anyhow, that's the way it would be at the moment. We just don't know the thickness of the insulation, but we can just assume something. And that's what you need to add to that detail. And so I'll let you attempt to draw that, but I will show you how to do the notes. So, okay, so once you've got it set up like this, with the different views, you can draw break lines in between each one, and you could have them maybe a little bit closer together to give you more room for the notes. So as long as you can move them in straight lines. So that will be the minimum, that you have those details, but I think it wouldn't hurt if you have time, because you've done all the work, to draw the what do you call it, the column details. Why not show those?
So would you just have two details?
Yeah, well, so
Or like that bottom junction and then that?
well, you may as well show. You could show all three, because this the top one will be different. It'll have the the roof exactly over this. Yep, that's right. So here, there's a bit, and so it's a good chance just to show you a little trick there. Rather than panning and just visually working out how far I need to go, I can measure. So across to here, well actually that one isn't as good as the next one, because this one only has one column, so that's a better one to use. So I'll measure to there. So I'm just going to measure from the centre here across to the centre of this column, and it's 7309, and you'll see why I need to know that number. Okay, so back in the viewport now, I can again type -PAN, click there as my base point, take it to the left and type in 7309, and it's exactly on the column. And I want that to be the same in all views. Now it's a little off, but I'll adjust that afterwards in a second. So I can just use the same tool again. So -pan, click, take it to the left, 7309. Instead of lining them all up. There are ways of lining them up after you've panned, but it's obviously a lot easier if you can get it right first go. And that way it lines up across to the left as well. And so that's a good way of having things coordinated. So there, I've just used object tracking to line up those viewports, but you could also, and here would be, look, I'm not going to make you do it. It would be nice to show the parapet capping, but that's a bit of a tricky detail, so I won't make you do that one. So you can see that I've just lined those viewports up using object tracking, but another simple way, here you can see these come out too far on the right, so you could just draw a line. Sometimes that's easier. And actually I might move that line over a little bit. So about there, and then you can just stretch the viewports visually across. Get rid of the line. So that would be a good setup for the details. I think that would be more than enough if you have those 6, but as a minimum just the first 3 would be all you need. You still might need to adjust it further, so it would be good to have some sort of footing showing, even though you're going to have to guess that. But just use those drawings that you have in the set, the PDF set, as a guide, and the detail that we drew earlier, that concrete footing. And so, because I've got the viewports there on a non-printing layer, they obviously won't print. So that's how it'll print. I've got some other lines to check there that are on, again, they're just layers that are switched off actually, I think. There we go. So I should have checked that in each view, but now I have to go through each viewport and turn those on. And a really good option to remember there is to lock the scale so that when you zoom you don't accidentally change the scale. So that padlock there, while you're at it, may as well do. So there we go. So I've gone and panned, which has changed that view. I don't want that, so I'm going to again make sure I lock it first, and now when I pan, it brings the whole sheet up. So have I got the structural beam off as well, and that must be off here as well. So yeah, so look, I was trying to avoid the window head there as well, but I think you may need to show that because you really do want that to show. Yeah, that looks better. And I think, oh yep, so these ones will need that beam layer and the joists, I suppose. Yeah, that's better. You've done all that drawing work, may as well make sure it's all shown. And oh yeah, so the last thing I'm trying to show you there is the break symbols. So you can just draw lines on the page. So here it's in paper, so I'm drawing on the layout. You can just draw a line along the bottom of the viewport and just do your own break symbol. So once you draw one line at the angle you want, good trick there is just mirror it. And before long, once you've done a few, you can make some blocks out of these. You'll need more than one, but you'll just need to make a few for different scales and other things. Exactly, that's right. It's only on the page that you'll see it. And so, oh, so I should have just moved that, but that's okay. And so now, copy this across. So I'm just going to stretch that break line across to the midpoint of my viewport, which is always a good way to do it. And having done one, then they can be copied. And you really should make a block out of it before too long. And so here we'd have two, the top and then, so the bottom of that one and then top of this one, so it should also be at the top of the one above. And so then you can just copy one across to this viewport, and again stretch it. So you can see there, well, I'm in a bit of trouble because it's going over my drawing. So it's good to see these things before you make a block out of it. So I can scale that down. So I've just typed SC, which is the shortcut for scale. Should have shown you, I can always just click on the button up here, scale, does the same thing. And I'll use the centre there as the base point, and I'm going to type 0.7. That seems to work. And, well, is it though? I think that maybe could even be smaller. And so this was never an issue when you were drawing manually, you would just draw it the size you needed it to be. But again, with computer drawing, you do need to think about how it works in a whole range of situations. So maybe we've got to make them, it's maybe a little bit small for the sheet. So again, just a bit of trial and error to get it the right size. So maybe a tiny bit bigger. I know it might seem fussy, but you just want to get this right. And so now I'd have to, you know, because I didn't get it right the first time, copy that back and get rid of the ones I've already done. And then again, just fill it that all together again. There we go. And now this line can probably just be copied repeatedly. There we go. And so, what have I got turned off there? Oh, I just haven't trimmed that across. That's okay. So I'll fix that in a minute. So, now if I show you the print preview, you can see then so it's really, I mean, there's still a little bit more detail to draw in, and I should show you that for the parts that you can just draw that will be shown on the section anyway. So I'll just go back to model. Okay, so you should show the brick thickness, and it's always a bit tricky with a section like this because remember it's cutting at an angle. So we've ended up with a wall thickness which is not the real wall thickness because we're cutting through at a slight angle. And remember also this wall isn't a typical brick wall either. It's a little bit thicker than a normal cavity brick wall because it's a very early double brick building. But you can cheat a little bit and just use standard sizes and just don't dimension. You don't need to dimension horizontally anyway in your detail. So remember a standard brick width is 110. So you should really draw that in. And then, see now, once you get to this point, you realise that the ground is a bit lower than the internal floor. Now it slopes and it's not consistent, but for this detail we can just assume that it's basically flat. So I'm going to move that line down with ortho on 100 mil. And then the level line can be extended out. Can use stretch to bring those other lines down to meet it. And so then you've got the slab, internal slab, separated from the floor level. And I won't draw all of this. You've got the videos on the detail we did earlier, and this will basically just be the same with some slight differences. Sorry, not section. So it's the slab layer. Concrete cut. Sorry. So this one will join to. Oh, no, that's right. Yep. So this one will have another line coming down from there. Oh, I'm drawing on the wrong layer, so that's annoying. So the line coming down from there. That's better. And now I can fillet everything together. That's better. And so this line here would finish at the top of the slab, and so then to another line coming down there. We don't know the footings, so we're just going to guess. Let's say 400, and it probably comes down at least that far, if not more. Something like that though. And then you should have a chamfer here just to make it look more convincing. So you could always chamfer that just with a pretty arbitrary distance. Let's say distance, make it 100. Yeah, 100 for each. and then the flashing and all those other things should be shown, and also the brick courses should be shown. So so you can just draw lines across for that. Have a look at the detail, and then it's up to you whether you show the brick courses through your whole section, or you hatch and have layers turned off in the detail. But since you're going to be doing the brick courses for the detail, you may as well just do them all the way up the wall, and that way I'll show in all the details. And once you've done one, so remember, if you do the just use 86 as your let's just use 85 to keep it simple, because your sills, they are at 900. No, well look, you're going to count brick courses anyway, so you can count bricks to work out your sill heights. And if you're drawing things this accurately, oops, let's have a look at the photos. I thought we had some externals in here. Let's go to the new ones. Oh, is it right? And actually, they've been. Are they still there? Those ground floor windows? They should be actually. Yeah. So you're okay too. Yeah. And actually, I know in some of that I have here, so I'll just use these. But I know you do have them. It's just save time. And so here, there we go. Now, okay, we don't have, that's good that I checked. You're going to hate me. So, we don't have, we don't have bricks on that sill below the windows. So it's concrete. Let's just say it's rendered brickwork. Yeah, so I think for this we can just say it's rendered brickwork. So would be nice if you can show the concrete, but well, it's a bit of a tricky little detail then, and then you have to show the stone. So yeah, it's funny that infield with brick, this arts and crafts stuff seems simple, but then it's all about the craftsmanship, and so they're often not the simplest things to build. Did you see the thing on Frank Gehry last night? Yeah, the brickies having lots of fun. Yeah, it was pretty good actually. Yeah. I still think that his own house is by far his best building.
Yeah.
Oh, by miles. That's the one that got him famous.
I know, yeah.
That's,
I like the thinking behind it, but I don't.
I like the building, but
I don't
yeah, you don't. Oh, okay.
Not his house, but
Oh.
I respect the thinking behind it.
Yeah. Oh, that's. Oh, God, I love that building. But then, yeah, don't know about the other stuff. But it's all interesting.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, look, it was just the models that he did of that house that got him famous. They were floating around in architectural circles for years.
Office, where that's just like a warehouse of people making models.
I know, yeah, I know. It was like, I couldn't believe that. My jaw dropped when I saw the number of models in there. It's just insane. Yeah. Yeah. So like actually we can see something chipping off here. I think it could even be rendered brickwork. Yeah, and look, so you can see some bricks there behind this. I think it could well be rendered brickwork, which would be much easier to draw for you as well. So let's just say it's rendered brickwork, and so you'll need to show some render, which will give you the sill protrusion, or the protrusion of the wall below the sill. That's easier, much easier for you to draw as well. Yeah, yeah, and then fill that in with a concrete hatch, and that's it. So just protruding below the sill. And so you've got to do the window detail as well. Do you know how to do window details? Okay, so well, I'll see if I get time to show you that. Otherwise, I'll give you in the drawings that I've given you in the examples in the Australian standards. Actually, you've got those. They're easy to draw, and it's something that you have to do. Yeah, yeah, they are. Yeah, sort of. Yeah, once you know how they go together.
They're in the original section.
Partly, yeah, but only from a distance. So you need to look at these drawings here. That's a good window detail. You don't need to show any more than that. Okay, so you need the timber. That's the sill, and then you have the sash inside. So that's the main requirement, and then you might have an architrave showing on the inside as well. So just like that. So that's in the Australian standard. Yeah. So AS 1100, 301, 2008. The one plus A1 is just plus the amendment. So you can just draw that. It's just lines. And it's easy once you get in and start drawing it. So I'll give you some time to do this in a minute. So I might give you some time to work on that. But you'll see as I add it in here, now that's showing in the section, and I'm just going to make sure that you have room in the detail viewports to show that. And yeah, you may as well. There's no problem showing that in the section. So yeah, because at 1 to 100 you'll still see all those lines. And just keep checking your print previews. And look, I'm trying to show you everything correctly, but you might leave a few lines out here and there. In fact, I've said draw the window sills, but for the window head you'll see it. Here you could get away without showing the window sill, even though it would be a nice thing to show. You could just bring that up a little bit more. But you'll need it for the window head anyway, so you can't avoid it completely. Up here, you can't really avoid showing that. Yeah. So again, it's just that, again, it doesn't need to be perfect, but it should at least indicate the window construction. So this is your head, and then the sash. So there's something for your sash, something for the glass, and then the lines either side. That's this part here. So the sash is the frame around the movable part of the window, essentially. So that's the bit that goes up and down. Yeah, well, this is a different window. This is yeah, but yours would just have one of those. So we'd just have the glass on one side, not on both sides.
So the sash is the timber frame either side of those.
Yeah, up and down. So you'd have it going to halfway, and then you'd have another one on the other side. Yeah. But you don't need to show all of that because you won't. Well, you will in your section, but you won't see it in the details.
But we draw that all in the section.
Probably. Yeah.
And then it'll come into it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's right. So this is a really good little detail. These are all standard things, and if you haven't ever drawn them, it's a good experience to draw all of this. So cornices, all these things. For interiors, that's essential that you can draw those anyway. And once you do it a few times, then you can reuse it repeatedly in all your subsequent projects because the details should remain the same pretty much. Yeah.
Actually, I can ask that block
Of course, yeah, that's right, exactly. So we do have the blocks library here that would have a lot of details in it, but because they're set up by other people,
where you just want to start working on.
exactly. Yeah.
So how do you just, does it automatically go to automatically, or does it just set up automatically?
So then you need to export them. So these are all drawing files with just the part that you want in them.
So the easy way to do that while you're in project, you work in a block, save it, and then right click
Absolutely.
block and isolate window and then save that.
Well, you don't even need to make a block. That's the advantage with AutoCAD. It just uses drawing files. So you just save the part you want as a separate drawing file. And remember that W block command I showed you?
Yeah.
So you just type W. Select what you want, type W, and that'll export it into a drawing file. It's that easy.
So highlight what you want and W, and it will export it into
Okay, so but don't do it too soon because you want to get everything right before you do that. And so don't forget you can do the roofing up here, and so I'll give you some time to do that anyway.